Hello and welcome everyone. This is Professor Siddharth Surana. I hope you guys are doing good. और मैं तो हमेशा मस्ती रहता हूँ. So this is going to be a continuation of the RTP lecture. If you remember last time when I uploaded my last lecture, we started discussion on the RTP. RTP is divided in three parts. First part is circulars. We finished that in the last class, and which was also the statutory updates, which is separately uploaded on the website of ICAI. So circulars and statutory update, which is same, is over. And now we have two more parts in the RTP. In the question answer part, we have MCQs and we have subjective questions. As far as MCQ is concerned, only the questions and the answers are given. Final answer. So it makes sense that we should be solving them because 15 episodes of MCQs I have solved for you. The entire book I have solved for you, and I don't wish to leave any chance. Thus, MCQs I will be solving in proper detail with solutions. And then, as far as your subjective questions are concerned, obviously in the RTP, after the questions, they have printed the answer. So whatever is required, brief discussion about those questions, I might just be doing it, but will not be solving them in detail. Ultimately, you as a student are also required to do something. And there is a very famous English proverb, imitation is the best form of flattery. मतलब हिंदी में बोलता हूं, अगर कोई आपको कॉपी करता है मतलब वो सबसे आपकी बेस्ट तारीफ अगर कोई आपको कॉपी कर रहा है तो now by now I think most of you all are aware that lot of people engaged in the same subject are actually explaining the MCQs and have started uploading video lectures. So I maintain my system of being the trendsetter in the field of education, and this event is no different. So we'll come to the MCQ questions on the RTP of November 2020 attempt. They have altogether given 12 questions to us. 12 questions. Okay. But in those 12 questions, the first 3 are case study based. So big, superb level questions. And Institute has announced that we will be asking case study based MCQ. अब तक उन्होंने खाली एक बार मई 2020 अटेम्प्ट के अंदर केस स्टडी बेस्ड एमसीक्यू रखा था. वन वाज इन बिजनेस ट्रस्ट चैप्टर एंड वन वाज इन पेनल्टीज चैप्टर, एंड इन अवर मेन एमसीक्यू टेक्स्ट बुक आई हैव कवर्ड बोथ ऑफ देम, एंड नाउ दे हैव गॉट 3. दैट मींस दे हैव गिवन अ बिग स्टोरी, एंड ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ द स्टोरी दे हैव आस्क्ड 5 क्वेश्चंस एमसीक्यूज. सो रीड द स्टोरी, आंसर द 5 क्वेश्चंस. Read the story, answer 5 more questions. Read the story, answer 5 more. So the first 3 MCQs are actually not 3 MCQs, there are 15 MCQs. And then we obviously have about 9 more because totally we have 12. So 15 plus 9. That way, if you see, we are going to be doing just about 24 questions of MCQ in this lecture. That way, the lecture should be a very small lecture. I have just started the recording. तो अभी कितना टाइम लगता हो तो लास्ट में पता चलेगा. You have an advantage when you start watching, you know the duration. But we as teachers, when we start recording, we don't know the duration. And this is our, every drop of blood in our body has tanks in it. So when we start talking, then there is no one who can stop us. Not even the stop button. And therefore, what time it will consume, we don't know. But let's see. We will directly come to the first question. They are saying from the options A, B, C and D, choose the most appropriate option. When I did those 15 episodes of MCQ, in that also, if you still remember, many a times what will happen is, more than one answer will appear to be correct. B is also right, C is also right. What is more appropriate? You have to choose the most appropriate option. Let's see. First question is basically on PGBP. So they have given you information about 4 assessees. I'll just introduce the question to you. 4 assessees they have given you information. 4 के बारे में आपको दिया है. Nature of the assessee, nature of business, method of all that we will read that. ठीक है, read तो करना है, don't worry. So information about the assessee is given, and then they are asking you questions. Most of them are based on a presumptive taxation based questions. So whether presumptive available, not available. If you follow presumptive taxation, what will be the effect? If you don't follow, what will be the effect? Because the assessees are residents, primarily the questions are based on 44 AD, ADA for professionals, and AE, that is transporters. Yes, we do have presumptive taxation sections like 44B, BB, BBA, BBB, but that is for non-residents, and here the assessees are residents. So they have given us information, and after giving a big story, they have asked some questions. Let's see what the story is. Following are the details relating to 4 resident entities. Resident entities. By the way, for AE it is not required, but AD, ADA, resident is required. So you have AB and company, LM and company, PQ and company, and XY, which are also the names written here. AB, LM, PQ and XY, which are firm, LLP and firm respectively. That means only PQ and company is LLP, rest AB, LM and XY are all partnership firms. What is their nature of business? Retail trading. Okay. Business of plying or leasing of goods carriages. That means this is a transporter. Wholesale trading. Okay. And interior decoration. Interior decoration means professional. Rule 6F. Professional. So that means if at all this organization takes presumptive, this will go in 44 AE. If eligible. In case. And this will go in 44 ADA. Subject to other conditions. Subject to other conditions. We know in ADA your turnover has to be up to 50 lakh rupees. In AE you should not be having more than 10 trucks at any time during the year. Subject to other conditions, if they take presumptive, this assessee will go in AE and this will go in ADA. As far as these two are concerned, this is retail, this is wholesale. So if at all they ever want presumptive, they will have to go in 44 AD. That's the only provision available. They can't go in AE because AE is for transporter. I'm talking about these two, AB and PQ. They can't go in AE because that is for transporter. They can't go in ADA because they are not professional. So the only available option is AD. But open your eyes. Throughout my teaching, at least those students who have studied the full course of direct tax from me, my students at all the cities and video lectures, every state of India, every country where ICI is conducting exam. Again and again, repeatedly, 1,000 times I have taught you this in class. Between a firm and LLP, in entire income tax, only one difference, only one difference, only one difference, only one difference. Between firm and LLP, only one difference. What is the only difference between firm and LLP? 44 AD is available to resident individual, resident HUF, resident firm, excluding LLP. That means this assessee can come in 44 AD, second can come in 44 AE, third is ineligible for 44 AD because it is LLP. And AE obviously no because it is not transporter. ADA also obviously no because it is not professional. And last one is again subject to other conditions. Subject to other conditions, by the way, turnover and all that. That we will see. Okay. But do you understand that this question has already tested you on that knowledge which I gave you in class? Which knowledge? Between a normal firm and LLP, only one difference, 44 AD, not available. Let's see what are they giving. They have given us method of accounting. So we have mercantile cash, fair enough. In any case, professionals generally are found to be following cash system only. Businessmen are found to be followed mercantile, and transporter is following cash. They have given us turnover. Turnover, that is gross receipt, 2 crore. That means it becomes even further perfect that resident, firm, doing retail trading and turnover 2 crore. Up to 2 crore. This is where equal to is important. Equal to is also important. Up to 2 crore. That means one thing is clear. This assessee is eligible for 44 AD. This assessee, turnover is irrelevant because for transporter we have to see number of trucks. This assessee we have already decided ineligible. Ineligible. But at least at the turnover level of 1 crore, tax audit also will not be required. Anyways, because tax audit is only when your turnover exceeds 1 crore rupees in business and 50 lakhs in profession. And this is exact 50 lakh. So that means this assessee and this assessee, now we are fixed that they are definitely eligible for the respective sections AD and ADA. That has become fixed. This assessee is definitely not eligible because it is LLP, and for this we are yet to check the number of trucks. Once we check number of trucks, only then we can come to a conclusion. Amount received by way of RTGS, NEFT in the previous year 1920, which is included in above. That means out of 2 crore, 1.5 crore, 150 lakhs is 1.5 crore, was received through banking channels. Likewise, out of 101, 80 lakhs, out of 100, 70 lakhs, out of 50, 45 lakhs. At least for those assessees who are eligible for 44 AD, the turnover received in banking channel is important. because that much amount will be subjected to the presumptive rate of 6%. 6%. Here it may not be relevant, but in the first case it will be. Amount received by way of cash in the previous year 1920 included in 3 above. So out of 200, 30 lakhs is cash, out of 101, 21 is cash, out of 100, 10 is cash, out of 50, 5 is cash. An amount received by way of RTGS and NEFT from 1st April 2020 to 31st of July 2020. 1st April 2020 to 31st of July 2020. This is the period after the year end before the due date of return filing. And for this period also, if any amount is received in these modes, 6% will be allowed. 6% in 44 AD is allowed on turnover received in account pay check, account pay draft, electronic clearing system through a bank account or other prescribed modes up to the due date of return filing. In other words, on 170 lakhs, we will apply the presumptive rate of 6%. On 30 lakhs, we will apply 8%. Working partner's salary is given to you 5 lakhs, 1.5, 3 lakhs, 5 lakh respectively, and interest on capital which is paid to partners at 12%. That's 1 lakh, 50,000, 0 and 2 lakh respectively. So basically they have given remuneration and interest to partners. Can I say all are firms? Firm, LLP firm. So they will be paying remuneration and interest to partners. Details about that given to us. Profit as per books of accounts maintained as per 44AA after deducting working partner's salary and interest on capital. So after taking this deduction of 6 lakhs, we are getting profit of 5.6. After taking deduction of 2 lakh, we are getting profit of 4.1. After taking deduction of 3 lakh, we are getting 4.5. And after taking deduction of 7 lakh, we are getting deduction of 20. Can I say this is thus the net profit as per accounts? Net profit as per accounts. Okay. As per books of accounts, it is net profit. And number of vehicles. For the transporter, it is necessary that we know the number of vehicles. So first assessee was eligible for 44 AD because all the conditions, turnover up to 2 crore, resident individual HUF firm not being LLP and doing an eligible business allowed. Second assessee is in transport business having up to 10 trucks, eligible for 44 AE. Third assessee we cancelled because LLP is not eligible for 44 AD and obviously AE and ADA is not available due to nature of business. And last was satisfying all the conditions of 44 ADA. It may be assumed that partners' salary and interest are authorized by the partnership deed, relates to a period after the partnership deed and is within the prescribed limits. That means, can I say these are actual limits or actual amounts of remuneration and interest? Actual. And the question is saying this is within the 40B limit. So in case you are giving, this question is also testing you on the knowledge of 40B. In case you give 40B deduction, for interest we apply a limit actual as per deed or 12%, whichever is lower. And for remuneration, we apply a limit actual as per deed. And in third case, if it's a book loss, then 150. If it's a book profit, then first 3 lakh 90%, balance 60%, still minimum 150. The question is saying these amounts are within those limits. So if at all you are giving any 40B deduction, you directly give these amounts. They are within the limit. If you apply 40B, this is your answer. This is your answer. Fair enough. The details of vehicles owned by LM and company, which the question has told you that 10, but see note 2. So they have given you gross vehicle weight 8,000, 9,000, 10,000, 11, 12,000, 13,000 in kgs. So if we talk in tons, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 tons. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 trucks, which is also given. And they have given us date of purchase, date of put to use, totally irrelevant. Now open our notes, our class notes, and you will then realize that the income is calculated on the basis of ownership, that is, this is the date relevant, not on the basis of usage. So for light truck, it will be 7,500 per month or part per truck. For heavy vehicle, this is the only case of heavy, because heavy means more than 12. Exact 12 is also light, again equal to matters. Exact 12 will go in light. So all these trucks we will multiply by 7,500, obviously respective months. But this last, the calculation will be 13 tons into 1000 per ton per month. So 13,000 will be the income per month. Obviously, we will check the months here and multiply by 2 trucks. This is how we will be calculating the 44 AE presumptive income. Okay. From the details given above, choose the most appropriate option to the questions given below. So finally, the time has come that they are asking you the answers. And they are asking you the question and answers you have to give, obviously. Whatever you have read in the story, everything may or may not be relevant. Ultimately, you have to read this question and decide what is the answer. There is a trick in which you can save your time here in the MCQ based question. There is a trick, but it may not always work. I will still share the trick with you. The trick is, do one thing. When they ask you a case study based question, you directly come here. Come and check here. Read the question, read the options, and for deciding between them, if you require any data, go and read the question. That means read the question afterwards. First read the data afterwards. First read this. This is a trick. It may not help always. The best way, without making any mistake, it can consume a little more time, but you won't make mistake. Always read the full story, then come to the question. Now let's see. Which of the 4 entities are eligible to declare income on presumptive basis under Income Tax Act for AY 2021? We have already discussed and decided. First was, what were the names here? AB, LM, PQ and XY. No? Let me write here also. AB, LM, PQ, XY, so that I don't have to scroll again and again. AB, LM and XY, 3 are eligible. Only PQ is not eligible. Correct or no? So only AB and LM. AB is eligible. LM is also eligible. But let's read all the options. In my MCQ episodes also I told you that you should always read all the options. AB and XY. Okay, yes. AB, PQ and XY. PQ is definitely not allowed, so this is definitely wrong. AB, LM and XY. Most appropriate answer is this. See, that way these 2 are also correct answers. Because AB is also allowed, LM is also allowed, XY is also allowed. But we have to choose the most appropriate answer. This is the best answer. Answer will be D. Let's go ahead. What is the business income to be declared by AB and Company and PQ and Company for AY 2021? Assuming that entities wish to make maximum tax savings without getting their books audited. If they are not getting books audited, that means can I say they will offer presumptive income? Because if they don't offer presumptive income, then in actual, they will have to get it audited. Correct or no? Right? Turnover is more than 1 crore. If you observe, PQ is 100 lakhs. So, they don't want to get it audited. This is 2 crore. So, if you go and read the 44 AB limits, after 1 crore, you have to get audited. Unless you go for presumptive. And PQ is already not eligible for presumptive. That we have decided. That means, can I say, this assessee will have to go by presumptive and this assessee will have to go by actual. Let's then see what is the income to be declared by them. For at least for AB and Company, can I say we have decided to go for presumptive because they want to do it without their books of accounts audited. Which section of presumptive is applicable? 44 AD. What is the calculation? On the turnover, we have to apply 8 or 6. Any portion of your turnover realized in the 3 channels up to the due date of return filing, that is account pay check, account pay draft or online system, then that will be 6%. That means, can I say this will be 6% and this will be 6%. So, if we calculate, this is question 1, part 2. We are calculating for AB and Company and for PQ and Company. Okay, without getting their books of accounts audited. For AB, do you understand we will apply 44 AD? First, let's do for AB. Turnover is 2 crore, but in that 170 lakhs will be going at 6% and only 30 lakh will be going at 8%. So what do you get as total here? 170 into 6% M plus 30 into 8% M plus. I think you're getting 12,60,000. Income for AB and company will be 12,60,000. Now, if you use your brain, no, if you have one, then observe carefully. For 1260, they have given only one option. So this 660 is wrong, 560 is wrong, 13 is wrong. Automatically, the first one becomes your answer. Automatically, first becomes your answer. Even if you don't make any calculation for the second assessee year. But then if at all you want to do it, come and observe please. Is this assessee eligible for presumptive? We have right from the beginning declared this assessee ineligible. So presumptive won't be available. And if presumptive is not available, then anyways, the actual profit is going to be taxable. Books of accounts are already maintained and audit is not required because your turnover is exact 1 crore. Tax audit applies when it exceeds 1 crore. Limit for tax audit is 1 crore. No, audit is anyways not required and you can offer your actual income, and which is also the answer in the option. And this is the only correct option. Nothing else can be right. Okay. Question 3. What is the business income to be declared by LM and company? LM means now we are talking about the transporter. Assuming that the firm wishes to make maximum tax savings without getting its books of accounts audited. So once again, no audit means presumptive. What will be the income? For the transporter, the income will depend on number of trucks. So if we talk about these trucks, these 8 trucks, the income will be 7,500. For all these trucks, the income will be 7,500. Only for the last one, it is going to be 13,000. Because for light truck up to 12 tons, it is 7,500. And for heavy truck, it is 1,000 per ton. Or you can just say it is going to be 13,000 rupees. Because 13,000 kgs is 13 tons and then you multiply by 1,000, then 13,000. Okay. So these trucks will be multiplied by 7,500 and the last will be multiplied by 13,000. We just have to decide the months. Be careful. The date of put to use is absolutely irrelevant. Absolutely irrelevant. Absolutely irrelevant. We are interested in the date when it was purchased, and per month will be rounded off. So per month or part of a month. Correct or no? So then let's do one thing. Let's solve it properly only. Question 1, part 3. Can I say 7,500 will be the common factor behind all these trucks? I'm just writing the trucks. 321112. 321112. For all these trucks, we are multiplying by 7,500. For the last truck, we are multiplying by 13,000. We just have to write the months now. One by one, we will write the months. For the last truck, 31st December. That means, can I say full March, February, January and December, one day also will be considered because part of a month will be considered. Now let's start from the top. Date of purchase May. So May it was used only for 28, 29, 30, 31, 4 days. But May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, Jan, Feb, March. Only April is excluded. So these 3 trucks we will be multiplying by 11. If we talk about 31st July, the 2 trucks, then it will be July, August, September, October, November, December, Jan, Feb, March. 9 months. April, May, June will be excluded. If we talk about the truck in August, actually you just have to keep on reducing 1 month. So if July is 9, then August, September, October, November, December, Jan, Feb, March. This will be 8 months. This one truck which is acquired in September, it is going to be obviously then 7 months. Then the one in November, so you have to cancel October also. November, December, Jan, Feb, March, 5 months. And obviously for the December truck, we have already taken 4 months. All you are required to do is one by one multiply these figures. So that is 3 into 7,500 into 11 M plus. I am writing all the individual amounts because in case we make any mistake, then we realize. And then you will be having the solutions also, because that's the whole objective behind doing this. Okay. I am getting an income of 6,36,500. That's the income under 44 AE. 6,36,500. Okay, on the basis of the trucks that have been furnished out here, the income is coming to 636,500. Once we compute income under presumptive, there is no adjustment of PGBP chapter. In 44 AD, when we apply 8% or 6%, like we did for this assessee, this is our final answer. In 44 ADA, by chance, if we ever calculate the presumptive income of the last assessee XY, the rate applicable is 50%. For 44 ADA, we won't be doing anything. But in 44 AE, there is a provision which says that after you compute this income, under 44 AE, you are allowed to take the benefit of 40B, that is deduction of partners' remuneration and interest. You are allowed to take 40B. So in 44 AD, we are not going to make any adjustment. In 44 ADA, we are not going to make any adjustment. But in 44 AE, we are allowed to take the deduction if it is a partnership firm. Now in this case, this transporter is a partnership firm, and being a partnership firm, it will be eligible to take the deduction of this 2 lakh rupees, which the question, if you remember, we discussed, this is within the limit of 40B, and after taking this 2 lakh deduction, the income which we are left with will be only 2,36,500. And now we have to just, 2 lakh is subtracted, so 4,36,500 and 4,36,500 becomes your option C, Okay, so basically one point to be noted here, which is relevant for you, which is important for you, is that in 44 AE partners capital account, when you are paying them remuneration and interest, remuneration obviously only to working partner, interest will be paid to all partners. On the basis of the 40B limits, the deduction is going to be allowed. So from your presumptive income, you have to subtract that. Okay. Next, what is the income to be declared by XYN company under the head profits and gains of business or profession, assuming that firm wishes to make maximum tax savings, again without audit. That means again presumptive, without audit. And XY means, I think, that interior decoration. That's the easiest of all, because whether cash check irrelevant, we will directly be applying 50%. That way, if you observe, the profit as per books is only 20 lakh rupees. Only 20 lakh rupees. But if we decide to not maintain books of accounts, if we don't want to maintain books of accounts, then we directly have to apply 50 lakh into 50%, and accordingly we will have to offer 25 lakh to tax. 25 lakh will be your answer for this question. And would your answer to subparts 3 and 4 above change if the firm decides to get books of accounts audited? Subpart 3, that was your transporter, and subpart 4, that was your professional interior decoration. As per presumptive, we got 436,500 and 25 lakh respectively, because हमको ऑडिट नहीं करवाने का था. नहीं करवाएंगे तो प्रिजम्पटिव के हिसाब से, प्रिजम्पटिव के अकॉर्डिंग वी हैव टू टेक इट. लेकिन अगर हम ऑडिट कराने के लिए रेडी है तो ऑब्वियसली एक्चुअल का भी ऑप्शन है. एक्चुअल प्रॉफिट कितना है अगर आप इसका चेक करो तो इट इज ओनली 4,10,000. सो अभी के लिए प्रिजम्पटिव अकॉर्डिंग टू प्रिजम्पटिव, उसके अकॉर्डिंग वी हैव गिवन 436,500. सो अगर हम ऑडिट करवा लेंगे देन कैन आई से दिस इज बेटर. एंड लाइकवाइज इफ आई टॉक अबाउट दिस, करंटली वी हैव ऑफर्ड 25 लाख एज पर प्रिजम्पटिव. प्रिजम्पटिव के हिसाब से देखोगे तो वी हैव ऑफर्ड 436,500 एंड 25 लाख रिस्पेक्टिवली. वही अगर हम एक्चुअल देते तो 436,500 विल बिकम 4,10,000 एंड 25 लाख विल बिकम 20 लाख. दैट मींस बोथ केसेस एक्चुअल ऑफर करना बेनिफिशियल है, और अगर एक्चुअल ऑफर करना बेनिफिशियल है तो हम ऑडिट करा के कर सकते हैं ना. देखिए, इन दीज अबव क्वेश्चंस, इन क्वेश्चन 3, इन क्वेश्चन 4, द असेसी वांटेड टू डू इट विदाउट ऑडिट, but now he is willing to do the audit, and because the assessee is willing to do the audit, then in both 3 and 4 our answer will change. So no change, wrong answer. Yes, there will be change in both subparts. I think this only is the right answer. 3 will change but 4 won't, wrong answer. 4 will change but 3 not, wrong answer. दोनों के अंदर change होगा because we don't want to get it audited. This is your case study based sum. So normally when we do MCQs, when I recorded 1600 also, but 20 hours it got over very easily. It got over in less than a minute. We were doing most questions, but case study based MCQs will consume more time because they first require to interpret the whole story. Well, we got an idea about it. Now let's see what is our second, again a case study based question. Question 2. Mr. Hari, a property dealer, sold a building in the course of his business. Obviously property dealer will be selling, business ही कर रहा है तो business में ही बेचेगा. To his friend Mr. Rajesh, who is a dealer in automobile spare parts. ये राजेश का business क्यों relevant है? Because for Rajesh, the receiver, the buyer of the property, it is a capital asset. If he was also doing business, then it would have been stock in trade, no? Then gift provision is not applicable. Gift provision is applicable if the asset that you receive is capital asset, and if he is doing automobile business, then obviously it is capital asset. For rupees 100 lakh on 1/1/2020, when the stamp duty value was 120. So what is the stamp duty value? 120. But what is the agreed value? That means Rajesh will pay Hari how much? Rajesh will pay Hari how much? 1 crore. But stamp duty value is 120. Both have tax implication. If you see from the point of view of Hari, 50C नहीं लगेगा boss. 50C नहीं है, 43C है, because this is his stock in trade. Provision is same. Provision is absolutely same. Actual selling price or stamp duty value, whichever is higher, you can call for the valuation officer. Agreement date, stamp duty value, if some consideration was paid by those three allowable modes on the date of agreement. Now we have that 5% window also. If the difference is up to 5% of actual, जैसे यहाँ पे actual 100 है और stamp duty 120 है, तो difference 20 lakhs, वो 20% है. हमेशा actual के ऊपर देखना रहता है. 5% has to be always checked on actual. It is more, so 120 लगेगा. लेकिन अगर ये 105 तक होता ना, 105 up to 5%, तो फिर मतलब stamp duty अगर 105 तक होता है, actual is तो 100 only, then actual 100 will get accepted because 5% is allowed. In fact, next year, जो previous year 2021 है, May 21 students I have already completed a few batches. उसमें they are changing the range from 5% to 10%, but you have to learn 5 only. Okay. Agreement was, however, done on 1st September when the stamp duty value 1 crore 5 lakhs था. That means पहली बात तो transfer date stamp duty value is 120, but agreement date stamp duty value is 105. वैसे तो it is beneficial, but are we eligible for that benefit? Mr. Hari received down payment of 15 lakh by NEFT. By NEFT from Rajesh. By NEFT. NEFT मिला. Hello. That means can I say advance is in an allowed mode? तो agreement date stamp duty value का option मिलेगा. Seller को 43CA में भी मिलेगा and buyer को भी IFOS में मिलेगा. Buyer also gets that option now. See, for seller we have to see what selling price we will take. Because this is dealer of properties, then 43CA में PGBP का selling price. If it was capital asset, then 50C में capital asset का selling price. We get agreement date stamp duty value for that. And for the buyer, the difference is gift, no? You get an asset and you pay less inadequate consideration, gift. For both sections, we get 105 as option, and the best news is, now we have 105. Is that in 5% range? And this is where your knowledge is required, that you have to always apply 5% on actual. You can't apply 5% on this. 5% is not applicable on stamp duty value. 5% of actual is how much? So, if you go and read the section says, stamp duty value should not be more than 105% of actual. That means you have to apply the percentage on actual. That's 5 lakhs. That means can I say this has come within the range? That means our transaction value is at perfect value. Perfect. Mr. Hari purchased the building for 50 lakh on 12 July. Obviously, he must have purchased. That is why he is selling today, no? अरे चोरी करके थोड़ी लाया था, परचेस किया ना तभी बेच रहा है. So Mr. Hari के लिए it is going to be PGBP. Correct or no? For Hari it is going to be PGBP. PGBP because he is selling it in course of business. He purchased for 50 lakhs, sold for 100. Stamp duty value 120 will be irrelevant because agreement date is available, and that is also within the 5% range. So that is also irrelevant. In other words, 50 lakhs is only his profit. That's one story. And in this second case study, they have given this second story which has got nothing to do with the first one. Means forcefully, jabardasti, they want to add 5 MCQ questions. But jabardasti, they are giving you the second story. What are they giving you? Mr. Ravi, a retail trader, sold a residential house to Mr. Valish. That means can I say this time Ravi will be for 50C because he is a retail trader. Mr. Valish, a wholesale trader for 50 lakhs on 1st February 2020 when the stamp duty value was 70 lakhs. Okay. Normally it is appearing to be more than the 5% range. So we have to go by that unless there is agreement date stamp duty value like it happened last time. Agreement was however entered into 1st August when the stamp duty value was 55. Wow. Mr. Ravi had received a down payment of 5 lakh by cross check. The moment you say cross check, agreement date stamp duty value not available. Agreement date stamp duty value will be available only if it is account pay check, account pay draft, electronic clearing system through bank account or other prescribed modes which I explained to you in the circular lecture, update lecture. That means we have to take 70 only. And this 70 is more than 5%. You apply 5% on this, you will get 2.5. Till 52.5 we would have accepted, but this is 70 lakhs. So ultimately this has to be taken as selling price for Ravi under 50C. Last time Hari was in 43CA because he was a dealer of properties. But for Ravi it is a capital asset. So this is going to go in 50C. On the date of agreement, Mr. Ravi had purchased for 32 lakhs. That means for Hari it is going to be PGBP, that is section 28, but for Ravi it is going to be capital gain, that is section 45. On the basis of the above facts, choose the most appropriate option. Now the time has come to use our knowledge. What is the amount of income chargeable to tax in the hands of Mr. Hari in respect of the above transaction? What is the income taxable for Hari in the hands of above? Hari, it is PGBP. First search PGBP. That means this part is wrong. Now business income will be what? See, cost will be 50 lakh rupees. Selling price, we have three options. If you take 120, your answer will be 70 lakhs. If you take 105, then your answer will be 55. And if you take 100 lakhs, then your answer will be 50 lakhs. 120 will get cancelled because agreement date, it is an allowable mode. Therefore, we have to give respect to agreement date. And 105 will also get cancelled because of the 5% range. And thus, selling price will be 100. Cost price was 50. 50 lakh will be taxable as profits and gains of business or profession. Look at how close the answers are. Is there any amount taxable in the hands of Rajesh in respect of about transaction? If so, what is the income taxable? See, Rajesh is getting a property where he is paying only 100 lakh rupees. He is paying 100 lakh, but the stamp duty value was 120. Normally 20 lakhs is taxable because it is more than 50,000. That's the gift received. But we have facility of agreement date stamp duty value. So 120 will get cancelled and here it will be available because it was NEFT. So only 5 lakh rupees taxable. But now that 5 is also within the 5% range and that same 5% range which is available to the seller is available to the buyer also. And thus we will take this only as the value. Accordingly, no amount will be taxable in the hands of Rajesh. So if you take 120, then you will get 20 lakhs. If you take 105, then you will get 5 lakh. All this is going to be wrong. Are you following? What is the amount of income chargeable to tax in the hands of Mr. Ravi in respect of the above and under which head? So for Ravi, he is a retail trader. So one thing is for sure, it will be capital gains. Ravi charging section 45, that is capital gains. So business income option we have to cancel. In capital gain, they have given us 3 options. In the 3 options, first we will decide what to take as selling price. So we have got as an option, Ravi has sold for 50, stamp duty value on agreement date was 55 and on possession date was 70. First we will take stamp duty value. Will we get agreement date option? No. Cross check, not available. Now we have to choose between 50 and 70. We have already decided, by the way. Is this more than 5% range? Yes. That means 70 will be his selling price. And what will be the cost price? This was purchased on 17th August 2018. Now you must be wondering, if it is capital gain, then you should give cost inflation index. आइला cost inflation index नहीं दिया, अभी क्या करने का? अरे पागल, stupid, idiot, disaster, दुरंतम. 17th August 2018 and 1st February 2020. Do you understand? This is short-term capital gain and it will thus be only cost 70 minus 32. I think 38 you are getting as short-term capital gain and you have that as an option also. All the gains are short-term only. Question also has given short-term only. 38 lakh short-term capital gain. Next is any amount taxable in the hands of Mr. Valish in respect of above transaction. So like we checked for Rajesh, we'll have to check for Valish also. Valish has got a property of 70 lakhs, but he paid only 50 lakhs. So the difference is more than 50,000 taxable as IFOS. But we will check agreement-date stamp duty value. That's 55. Will we get that option? Again, cross check. That means option not available. So this only you have to check. And here also you get 5% range. But it is much beyond the 5% range. That means for property worth 70, I paid only 50. And thus can I say 20 lakh will be taxable as income from other sources. 20 lakh will be taxable as income from other sources. Correct or no? And the last question. Is tax deductible by Mr. Rajesh and Mr. Valish on making payment to the seller? Rajesh is making payment of how much? 100 lakhs. And Valish, actual payment is 100 lakhs and actual payment is 50 lakh. Is TDS applicable on 100 lakh and on 50 lakh? The section for TDS on properties is 194IA. Once again, something which we try to learn by putting a lot of pressure. What is the monetary limit? 50 lakh rupees. So 100 will definitely get covered under TDS. What about this? Is exact 50 lakh covered? Yes. Again and again, section after section in TDS, I have tried to make you learn 3 sections where equal to amount attract TDS. 192A, RPF maturity 50,000 rupees. 194DA, payment by life insurance company 1 lakh rupees. And 194IA, sale of immovable property or purchase of immovable property, exact 50 lakh rupees, exact 50 lakh will also attract TDS, and accordingly, yes, TDS will be attracted on both. Are you following? Understood the level of questions here? So first question tested you about knowledge of presumptive taxation and all, which was PGBP. Second question tested you on knowledge of capital gain, PGBP, other sources. 2 minute silence for those who don't cover IPCC portion with CA final student. RIP. Now let's come to question number 3. Following are particulars relating to 4 Indian companies. So this time they are giving you companies. So in question 1 it was firm. AB, XY, PQ, LM. Here we have companies and they are all Indian companies. A Limited, B Limited, C Limited, D Limited. Okay. What are the details given to us? Okay, they have given table wise. First, because lot of information. So first A Limited, B Limited and then C Limited, D Limited. No problem. Date of setting up 1st September 19, 1st November 19. That means can I say both have been established in the current year 1920. Object manufacturing of steel and manufacturing of apparel, clothes. State they have given Madhya Pradesh and Telangana. Wow. Beautiful question. Deep knowledge is required. Value of new plant and machinery installed and put to use on the date of setting up. So on 1st September, we have acquired plant and machinery, new plant and machinery worth 10 crore and we are manufacturers. And on 1st November, 4 crore rupees. Gross total income. Okay, that means when they have computed this income, gross total income, they must have taken your depreciation deduction, additional depreciation deduction, 32 AD deduction, Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, Telangana, West Bengal, new plant and machinery. They have computed your income at 4.9 and 2.8 crore respectively. Particulars of new employees employed during 1920s. So obviously, newly set up business, we must have employed. Number of employees employed on the date of setting the company, 1000. Both companies have recruited 1000 employees. Monthly emoluments paid by account pay check. So that condition is also satisfied. 500 employees, 24,000 rupees. 500 employees, 25,100. 500 employees, 24,000 rupees and 500 employees, 26. So these 1000 employees are broken into 500, 500. These 1000 into 500, 500 with their respective remuneration. Oh. Giving jobs to new employees. Deduction under 80 JJAA, and that is why this will also be relevant. So you have got no idea how every word is relevant. It's not that we have not studied the provision. We know the provision, but every word can change your answer. Okay. But then yes, these employees are earning more than 25,000 rupees per month, they are going to be ineligible. So whatever 80JJAA we will get only for these employees. That we will see when the question comes. Right now we are seeing only the facts. Then what about C Limited and D Limited? These are old companies if you observe. This is since 2000, this is since 2005. Trading, both are trading. So these two were manufacturers. Steel and apparel, Madhya Pradesh and Telangana. And these are trading in Tamil Nadu and Karnataka respectively. Because they are old companies, they have given us turnover information. So current year 19-20 turnover is given to you. 18-19, 17-18, 16-17. Last 5 years turnovers are given to you. Details of income as per ROI 14 crore, 17 crore. As determined in 143.1. Can I say intimation? You must have made some mistakes. So 16 and 20. So this first of all will be removed. Because if you are ever asked how much income was shown by assessee, kabhi bhi puchega. Assessee ne kitna dikhaya? Assessee ne kitna dikhaya? It will never be this. Because he has made mistakes. After correction of mistakes, assessee has shown 16 and 20. Income decided in assessment will be obviously when he will pass the order, he will increase your income. That means he has increased in assessment 4 crore and 2 crore respectively. Don't forget, you will be liable for penalty for that. And when you calculate penalty, never compare ROI with this amount. Never. ROI is totally irrelevant because intimation adjustments are not liable for penalty. So we will always compare intimation with order. Intimation with order. Excellent. From the above details, choose the most appropriate answer to the following questions. Too good level, superb level questions I am telling you. What would be the tax liability of B Limited for AY 2021 if it avails the benefit of rates under the special provisions inserted by the Taxation Law Amendment Act 2019? That means, can I say new taxation regime? We are availing the benefit of new taxation regime by fulfilling all the conditions and assume that GTI reflects computation under those provisions. So they have given us GTI here. We are talking about B Limited. They have given us GTI of 2.8 crore. You have to assume that this GTI is as per that calculation. They are asking you what? Not the net income. They are asking you tax liability. So you have to first compute NTTI. Then you have to apply the tax rates. One step you go wrong, you're gone, bro. Question 3, part 1. What is the gross total income given to us? 2 crore 80 lakhs, 2.8 crores. When you are in new taxation regime, you are going to lose income related chapter 6A deductions. In fact, from next year, now again applicable for May 21, they are saying we will not give you any chapter 6A deduction. But still, you are going to be eligible to get 80JJAA where you have recruited new employees. These 500 you won't get because more than 25,000. But these 500 you will get. What are the conditions? New employees, they are new employees. Payment is made in the allowable mode. Yes. Remuneration is less than 25,000. Unless anything is given, obviously we will assume that they are participating in RPF and all. And they should work for the required number of days. What is the requirement for minimum number of days to get 80JJAA deduction? For apparel, footwear and leather business, it is 150 days. So first of all, most people will not even know the new taxation regime. If they know, then they have to understand that this is 115BAB. Why this will be 115BAB? Because this is a newly incorporated manufacturing company. New manufacturing company. 115BAB. Under 115BAB, the rate of tax applicable is going to be 15% basic, compulsory surcharge 10% and HEC 4%, effectively making it 17.16. But on your net income, this is your gross income. Gross income. We have to first calculate our 80JJAA deduction. Tax calculation will be later. And for that, we have to see new employees. 500 having 26,000 salary are ineligible. But 500 having 24,000 Let's see if they are working for the required number of days. Normally the rule is 240 days, but for footwear, leather and apparel it is 150. So they have worked in November 30 days, December 31, January 31, February is 29. Never forget that. When you are giving your exam in November 20, February has 29 days and you have March 31. 152 days, and because it is 152, these employees will be eligible. So can I say our deduction is going to be 500 employees into 24,000, and like an idiot don't apply 30% on this, because you have to also multiply by months. November, December, Jan, Feb, March, 5 months. This amount will be eligible for 30% deduction. That's 1.8 crore, and thus the net taxable total income that you get will come to 1 crore. And this being a 115 BAB company, newly incorporated on or after 1st October 2019, all other conditions are satisfied. For newly incorporated manufacturing companies, 115 BAB has given 15% rate. So we have 15 plus 10% plus 4%. What is going to be the tax liability? The answer will be 17 lakh 16,000. So one step if you go wrong, supposingly you don't give 80JJAA. In 80JJAA, if you make a mistake of taking all 1000 employees, or you forget the months here, or you forget that this is apparel business, so it will be 150 days. One mistake you make, it will be wrong. And this is still the correct income. Now you have to multiply by the rate of 17.16. That is the rate of 115 BAB. Only then you get the correct answer. So if you know the provision, you can answer this. Knowledge of provision is very important. Next, what would be the tax liability of A Limited for AY 2021 if it avails the beneficial tax rates under the special provisions inserted by Taxation Law Amendment Act 2019 in the Income Tax Act by fulfilling the conditions? Assume that again the GTI reflects the computation under those provisions. So we will now talk about the second question. This time we will talk about A Limited. First, please use your brain and understand that way A Limited is also a newly incorporated manufacturing company, but this is 1st September, and 115 BAB is applicable to those companies which are incorporated on or after 1st October. That means that one condition you don't know, you will make a mistake here. This company is eligible for BAB, eligible for new taxation regime, sorry, but not BAB. It will be BAA, because this was already incorporated in October and BAB came for companies which are incorporated. This was already incorporated in September and BAB is from October, and thus for this company it is going to be 22 plus 10 plus 4, that is 25.168%. This is the only correct answer. Only correct answer. Okay. In MCQs there can be only one. I imagine if this comes as a practical sum, it can come at least for 3 or 4 marks. At least 3 or 4 marks. Okay. Again, now they have given us gross total income 4.9 crore. Even when you are going in new taxation regime, income related chapter 6 are not allowed, but 80JJ. Now you have to be careful that in new taxation regime you may not get chapter 6, but 80JJAA is allowed. So last time we did for these 500. This time we will do for these 500. September 30 days, October 31, November 30, December 31, January 31, February 29, March 31, 213 days. For steel business, you have to work for 240 days. For steel business, it has to be 240 days. The benefit of 150 days is only for apparel, footwear and real leather, and thus 80JJAA won't be allowed. 4.9 will be your answer. Total income. And when this 4 crore 90 lakh will be subjected to your 25.168%, I think you are getting your answer as 1 crore 23 lakh 32,320. If you give 80JJAA, what will happen? Look at how they have created the options. Supposingly you give 80JJAA, what calculation you will do? By mistake, you will take 24,000 employees, You will multiply by 500 employees. 24,000 is the salary, 500 employees. Multiply by, I think, 7 months from September. Multiply by 30%. You will end up giving a deduction of 2 crore 52 lakhs from 490. And on 2 crore 38 lakh, if you apply 25.168%, maybe your rate is right. You are getting 59, 89, 984 as one of the options, which is the wrong option. So those students who give 80 AA deduction in this sum, this is not eligible because 240 days are not completed. Their answer will come to this, but they will still think it is the right answer because it is there in the options. And that is why we are solving these MCQs for you. That is why we are solving, means I am solving, others are copying. That is why we are doing these MCQs with you. Are you following? Go watch my web series of 15 episodes. You will come to know the level of questions that we have solved. Okay. But then, fair enough. Excellent. So, this is going to be basically your answer, point A. Very good. What will be the tax liability of A Limited and B Limited for AY 2021? This time, if they don't opt for the special provisions, assume that the gross total income reflects the computation under the special provisions. Oh, that means this computation is under special provisions. Which income? This GTI is computation under special provision. When we are in special provision, that means, can I say we must have foregone additional depreciation deduction? And in this case, because it is Telangana, we must have foregone 32AD deduction also. That means, if this income is as per special provision, we have to calculate income as per normal provision. We will first take our additional depreciation deduction, then we will take our 32AD deduction, and then we will take the 80 AA deduction, and then we will get the total income. And what are they asking? Tax liability under that provision. Let's do that. Let's do that. Columnar, A Limited and B Limited. What is the GTI they are giving? And GTI as per, be clear, they have given us the GTI under special provisions. Under the special provisions, that means we have foregone the benefit. We have not taken, हमने additional depreciation 32AD नहीं लेके इसको compute किया. Correct or no? So what is the GTI under the special provisions given to us? I think 4.9 and 2.8. No? B का 2.8 था. B is 2.8 and A is 4.9. First we will give the deduction of additional. देखिए special provision में normal depreciation का deduction ले लिया. Only additional we have not taken. Correct or no? Let's give the deduction for additional depreciation. First company A Limited कितने का plant and machinery खरीदा? 10 crore rupees into 20% will be the additional depreciation. That means, can I say 2 crore? And second company ने 4 करोड़ का खरीदा. टिडिंग 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 टिडिडिडिडिंग. Why 35? Backward areas, Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, Telangana, West Bengal, 35. Look at how deeply they have tested you. Because this is less than 180 days, this will be half. This is September, more than 180 days. But this is November, this will be half. So the only correct calculation here will be 4 crore into 35% divided by 2. 70 lakh rupees. Is it? 1 0 here and there and you can go wrong. 0.7 crore. Yes, 70 lakh rupees. That's your additional depreciation deduction, Mitro. This working you should be having. Final answer you already have. You are watching the lecture, taking the trouble. You should be having this working. And once you see this. Once you see this, automatically you will get 32 AD. 4 crore into 15%. That's, I think, 60 lakh rupees. That means, can I say now we will get our GTI as per new provisions? That's 2.9. And I think 1.5. And in this, when we give chapter 6, now see, if you have solved question 1 and 2, तो इतना तो दिमाग आप में होना चाहिए दैट इसमें 1.8 था, तो मैक्सिमम 1.5 ये ले सकता है, एंड देयरफॉर एनटीटीआई नील हो जाएगा. वी हैव ऑलरेडी कैलकुलेटेड द डिडक्शन ऑफ 80JJAA. मैं आपको वो समझा रहा हूं. 80JJAA है तो 1.8. बी लिमिटेड की बात कर रहा हूं. आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट बी लिमिटेड. डिडक्शन तो 1.8 है, लेकिन मैक्सिमम तो 1.5 ही मिलेगा ना यार, उससे ज्यादा डिडक्शन तो मिलेगा नहीं, नील. एंड इफ वी टॉक अबाउट दिस साइड, ये तो वैसे ही एलिजिबल नहीं था, तो इसका तो आंसर 2.9 ही रहेगा ना बॉस. करेक्ट और नो? करेक्ट और नो? तो अब आपको टैक्स लायबिलिटी ढूंढना है. अब एक मस्त वाला बात बोलू, सुपर्ब वाला बात. इफ यू सी इन ऑल द 4 ऑप्शंस दैट दे हैव गिवन, बी लिमिटेड का 0 तो उन्होंने खाली सेकंड वाले में दिया, तो लॉजिकली स्पीकिंग वही आपका आंसर होना चाहिए. लेकिन ए लिमिटेड का कंफर्म कर लेते हैं. वो डी आपका आंसर है, वो कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है, बट ए लिमिटेड का कंफर्म कर लेते हैं. वी गॉट इनकम ऑफ 2.9 बाय टेकिंग अवर डिडक्शन ऑफ एडिशनल डेप्रिसिएशन ऑफ 2 करोड़. अब देखिए, ओल्ड रेजिम के अंदर 2 पॉसिबिलिटीज थी. पॉसिबिलिटी वन 30% या 25%, फॉर विच दे हैव टू गिव यू टर्नओवर ऑफ द कंपनी 2 years ago, and this is a newly incorporated company. यहां पे surprisingly the question has taken an assumption that if the company was not existing 2 years ago, तो वो 25% के लिए एलिजिबल ही नहीं है, उसको 30% लेना पड़ेगा. दिस इज सरप्राइजिंग, बिकॉज कोई कंपनी जो न्यूली इनकॉर्पोरेटेड होती है, उसके कैलकुलेशन के हिसाब से न्यूली इनकॉर्पोरेटेड मींस 2 years ago there was no turnover only, और वो लेस देन दैट 400 करोड़ का जो लिमिट है उसके अंदर आता है, तो वो 25% का कैलकुलेशन होता है. बट हियर सरप्राइजिंगली नाउ अभी कैसा है, आंसर ये है, ये बात तो पक्का है, बट नाउ वी हैव टू मेक श्योर दैट दिस वी गेट. सो हाउ वी विल गेट? पहले 30% का ट्राई कर. 30% प्लस सरचार्ज 7%, because the income is between 1 crore and 10 crore. Domestic companies between 1 crore and 10 crore, 7 and 4. So 2 crore 90 lakh का 96, 81, 360 इसी के हिसाब से आ रहा है, एंड अकॉर्डिंगली यही आपका आंसर है. सो व्हाट दे हैव डन बेसिकली, मैं इससे ये कंक्लूड करता हूं कि आईसीएआई ने अपने क्वेश्चन में अज्यूम किया है, अगर कोई नई क्रिएटेड कंपनी है जो ओल्ड रेजिम है, देखिए न्यू रेजिम के अंदर तो यूएबी डबल ए बी ए बी 25.168 एंड 17.16 ऑल इंक्लूसिव सरचार्ज एंड एचईसी रिस्पेक्टिवली. ओल्ड रेजिम में बेसिक टैक्स के 2 रेट्स है, एक 25, एक 30. अगर 2 साल पहले, सो फॉर 1920 यू हैव टू चेक टर्नओवर ऑफ 1718. अगर 1920 है तो आपको 1718 का टर्नओवर देखना है. इफ इट इज अप टू 400 करोड़ तो 25% मिलेगा, नहीं तो 30 होगा. ये कंपनी 1718 में थी नहीं, तो मेरे हिसाब से तो टर्नओवर 0 है, मेरे हिसाब से 25 लेना चाहिए. मैं तो 25 ही लूंगा, टर्नओवर 0 है. बट समहाउ इंस्टीट्यूट का सोल्यूशन इसको 30 में कवर कर रहा है, एंड देयरफॉर 13. वैसे भी दिस इज द ओनली राइट आंसर. इवन इफ आई डोंट गो बाय द सजेस्टेड आंसर दैट दे हैव गिवन, एटलीस्ट बी लिमिटेड का नील तो यू हैव टू अग्री, उसका तो एनटीटीआई 0 है, तो आप कोई ऑप्शन भी नहीं. ओके, नेक्स्ट. What would be the quantum of penalty payable by C Limited under 270A, assuming that underreporting is not due to misreporting? Misreporting होता है तो 200% होता है ना. That means can I say we will have to apply 50% on the underreported tax? बस आपको underreported tax find out करना. And none of the additions qualifies under 270A subsection 6, वो जहां पे आपकी पेनल्टी नहीं लगती है. C Limited has not opted for special provision. Not opted for special provision मतलब can I say C Limited will be in the old regime? Old regime में 30 के 25, वो देखना पड़ेगा ना, देखना पड़ेगा. That means यहाँ पे बहुत जगह है तो इधर ही करेंगे, इधर ही करेंगे. टैक्स ऑन इनकम एज पर 143(3) कैलकुलेट करेंगे, एंड टैक्स ऑन इनकम एज पर 143(1) करेंगे. रिमेंबर आई ऑलरेडी टोल्ड यू इनकम एज पर रिटर्न इज irrelevant. So we will calculate tax on this income. That's the assessed tax. That's the declared tax. Difference will be underreported tax. और उसका 50 क्यों, क्या क्वेश्चन ने बोला है ना, there is no misreporting. Misreporting होता तो ये जो डिफरेंस है, इस डिफरेंस का 200% होगा, हाफ या डबल. Underreporting is half and misreporting is double. But we have to find out tax on 20 crore and 16 crore. So NTTI कितना है आपका? 20 crore and 16 crore. क्वेश्चन ने बोल दिया नॉट ऑप्टेड. नॉट ऑप्टेड मतलब ओल्ड रेट. और अगर ओल्ड रेट है तो आपको टर्नओवर देखना पड़ेगा ना बॉस। टर्नओवर 17-18 का टर्नओवर कितना है? 499 करोड़। इज दैट मोर देन 400 करोड़? यस। तो आपका जो बेसिक टैक्स होगा वो 30% से कैलकुलेट होगा। अरे आई बॉल्स ओपन, ईयरबड्स ओपन, आग की गोटी कान का पर्दा खोल के देखो, और देखो जरा प्लीज, जब एक डोमेस्टिक कंपनी का इनकम 10 करोड़ एक्सीड करता है ना, व्हेन इट एक्सीड्स 10 करोड़, नो, surcharge will be 12% and HEC will be 4%. HEC तो ठीक है, आप रॉन्ग नहीं जाओगे। आप दो जगह पे रॉन्ग जा सकते हो। बेसिक टैक्स यू हैव टू सी टर्नओवर 2 साल पहले का। अगर ये 400 करोड़ से कम होता, इफ दिस वाज 399 करोड़, देन वी वुड हैव अप्लाइड 25% यहां पे। और सरचार्ज 10 करोड़ के बाद में ना बॉस 12%। अगर यहां पे आपने 7% लगाया तो आप वापस मरेगा। सो लेट्स सी 20 करोड़ के ऊपर क्या टैक्स आता है। 30% plus 12% plus 4%. In crores it is 6 crore 98 6 point, मैं इन crores लिख रहा हूं चलो, बिकॉज सब कुछ इन crore 6.9888, okay, 6 crore 98,88,000, okay. And what about 16 crores? 30% plus 12% plus 4%, 5.59104. difference 1 crore 39 lakh 77,600, 139,77,600। और ये क्या है? ये अंडर रिपोर्टेड टैक्स है। और पेनल्टी क्या होगा अंडर रिपोर्टेड टैक्स का? हाफ। 139,77,600 डिवाइड बाई 2, 69,88,800, 69,88,800। अंडरस्टूड? हेलो? एक भी स्टेप रॉन्ग गया तो आपका फाइनल आंसर रॉन्ग। ऑब्जेक्टिव क्वेश्चन में स्टेप का मार्क्स नहीं मिलता है। बहुत धरने दिए स्टेप वाइज मार्किंग के लिए। लो लो, खाओ, करो, मजा करो। वो रिमेंबर दैट स्टैंड अप कॉमेडियन अभिषेक उपमान्यु। और भाई आ गया स्वाद। What would be the quantum of penalty payable by D Limited under section 270A, assuming that this time your underreporting is due to misreporting? So this time it is going to be 200% of your underreported tax. And again not opted. Not opted मतलब कहना इसे it is remaining in the old regime. Old regime में रहेगा, old regime में। चलिए हम लोग वापस करेंगे 143.3 करेंगे and 143.1 because ROI is irrelevant. What are the incomes given to us? 20 crore and 20 crore respectively. NTTI 22 crores, 20 crore. Basic tax, because we have to find out both tax, no? Basic. Old regime 25 ke 30. Bro, this time this is 251. And the moment this is 251, the basic tax applicable will be 25%. Surcharge आएगा ना? More than 10 crore. More than 10 crore. Surcharge थोड़ी ना चेंज होगा। 12% and HEC 4%. So what do you get on 22 crore? 6.4064 and on 20 crore 5.824. Under reported tax, I think you are getting 58,24,000. Under reported tax 5824, and because it is due to misreporting, 5824 will be multiplied by 2, 1 crore 16,48,000. 1 crore 16,48,000. This was your last case study based MCQ. Too good, I'm telling you. Superb questions. Other questions are easy only, but then we have decided we are doing it. We will be doing it together only. लेकिन अभी आने वाले जो क्वेश्चन है वो इजी है, वो इतना डिफिकल्ट लेवल के नहीं है जितना डिफिकल्ट लेवल के आपके ये वाले क्वेश्चन थे। ठीक है, लेट्स कंटिन्यू। A Limited, an Indian company, bought back its listed shares from its shareholders, and B Limited, an Indian company, bought back its unlisted shares from its shareholder in the month of March 2020. March, आपका जो एग्जाम ईयर है ना, जाके मेरे अमेंडमेंट के लेक्चर देखो, अमेंडमेंट लेक्चर इन बोथ लैंग्वेजेस, रिवीजन लेक्चर इन बोथ लैंग्वेजेस। चैलेंज मारता हूं इंडिया में अगर कोई 3-4 घंटे के अंदर पूरा सब्जेक्ट आपको रिवाइज करा के दिखा है 1 डे बिफोर योर एग्जाम, गोल्डन लेक्चर है, गोल्डन, विथ 3 days हॉलीडे ऑब्वियसली। ओके, both languages, and statutory update lecture is also uploaded, go check. I have taught you this, that unlisted shares के ऊपर तो buyback tax right from 1st April लग रहा है this year, from 5th July even listed shares, so up to 4th July no buyback tax, from 5th July yes, but in the ordinance relaxation आया ना, that if the announcement was made up to 4th July then still no buyback, but ये तो मार्च है, तो that means can I say listed unlisted दोनों के ऊपर आएगा in the hands of A limited B limited। मैंने आपको आंसर दे दिया है, there will be buyback tax at 20%, buyback में compulsory 12% surcharge and 4% HEC, 20 plus 12% plus 4% मिला के आपका 23.296 इफेक्टिव आपका बायबैक टैक्स का रेट आता है। एडिशनल इनकम टैक्स एट 23.296 ऑफ डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड इनकम इज लेविएबल इन द हैंड्स ऑफ ए लिमिटेड एंड बी लिमिटेड, एंड शेयर होल्डर के लिए यस 1034A में इट इज गोइंग टू बी एग्जाम्प्ट। यही आपका राइट आंसर है। टैक्सेबल इन देयर इंडिविजुअल हैंड्स इज रॉन्ग, लेविएबल फॉर ए लिमिटेड रॉन्ग, लेविएबल ओनली फॉर बी लिमिटेड वो भी रॉन्ग, सब कुछ रॉन्ग है, दोनों को बायबैक टैक्स भरना है। यही अगर अप्रैल पूछा होता ना, अप्रैल में सी बाय व्हाट आई एम नो इंस्टीट्यूट नो, मैं ICAI को अच्छे से जानता हूं, बहुत पुराना नाता है। ओके, आई नो इंस्टीट्यूट वेरी वेल, दे विल आस्क यू दिस सेम MCQ and they will give you the month as April 2020, not April 2020, April 2019, आपके एग्जाम में 1920, April 2019। तो फिर अनलिस्टेड का आपका आंसर बायबैक टैक्स होगा। अनलिस्टेड वो कौन सी वाली कंपनी? बी लिमिटेड, बी लिमिटेड भरेगी, एंड ए लिमिटेड का जो है वो शेयर होल्डर के हैंड्स में। तो अगर इन्होंने अप्रैल, मई, जून अप टू 4th जुलाई दिया ना आपके क्वेश्चन में, देन दिस विल बिकम योर आंसर, but because this is March, then our answer is changing. Be careful. I always, for more than 150 to 180 hours of my full course, I always teach students that you have to not just learn what is written, you have to also have the analytical ability that you can answer anything जो आपके सामने नहीं लिखा है, you should be able to answer that also. But good question though. Question 5. Mr. Ganesh and Mr. Rajesh, resident Indians, age 60 and 80 years respectively, have not furnished the return of income for previous year 1920. However, the total income assessed in respect of such year under section 144. So for Mr. Ganesh it is 80 lakhs who is 60 years. Now Mr. Rajesh who is 80 years it is 5 lakhs. Is penalty leviable, and if so, what is the quantum? First of all, were they required to file ROI? For Mr. Ganesh, income is 8 lakh exceeding basic exemption. He was required to file ROI and thus leviable. Mr. Rajesh is of the age 80 years and income is 5 lakh. That means his income is below the basic exemption limit, was not required to file ROI. In fact, even if you make him file ROI, please understand, up to 5 lakh his tax is going to be 0 only. And if tax is 0, automatically the penalty will be 0. That means we are clear. Mr. Ganesh will pay penalty, Mr. Rajesh won't pay penalty. Mr. Ganesh will pay, Mr. Rajesh won't pay. No penalty for both, wrong answer. Next, they are giving you penalty quantum for both, automatically wrong. Automatically D becomes right. Penalty leviable for Ganesh, no penalty for Rajesh. Whether you verify this amount or you don't verify, you should have the brains. See, we consumed more time in the case study based question. So institute is going to give you this set off, that they will ask you other questions which get over very fast. Even if you don't calculate, we will calculate only. See, first 3 lakh there will be no tax. Mitro, 3 lakh. Why? Senior citizen. Then up to 5 lakh there will be 10,000 tax. Then for up to 8 lakh rupees, 3 lakh into 20%, that's 60,000 rupees. 60 only, no? 70,000 plus HEC. 70 to 800. And 70 to 800 divided by 2, that is 36,400. We are still verifying the amount also. But then even if we would have not done this, still we would have got the answer. Okay. Excellent. Next question is basically a question on your 115A and 44DA. Royalty and FTS for non-resident will be taxable in 115A at 10%, no deduction of expense, no basic exemption, no chapter 6A, gross income will be taxed at 10%. But if you have permanent establishment in India, you maintain books of accounts, you get them audited, then you get the option of 44DA also. You can go in 44DA where you can take deduction of expenses. You can take deduction of expenses and you can pay tax on the net income. Correct? That 44DA which we always discuss in class while doing special rates of tax along with 115A only. We write these conditions in class. P in India, books of accounts and audited, then normal rates. We have written that 40%, but always assuming that it is a company. On the understanding that it is going to be a company, so we have written 40%. Some little discussion on 44DA I will be doing while doing this question with you. So this basically will also serve as a complementary study along with your overall course. Let's see the question first. X and company, Y and company are non-resident firms in receipt of fees for technical services of 20 lakh each. That means X is also getting 20, Y is also getting 20. In previous year 1920 from an Indian company A Limited in pursuance of an agreement with A Limited which has been approved by central government. X and company does not have PE. Oh. Whereas Y and company has a PE. So X and company no PE, Y and company yes PE. And the contract is connected with that PE. The revenue expenditure incurred by X and company. So what is the income fees for technical services received? Both have 20 lakh. Expenses for X they have given us 2 lakh. And for Y they have given us revenue expenditure 3,50,000. Expenditure wholly and exclusively connected with your PE which is out of the above amount. So in 3.5 which is your total revenue expense, what is the expense connected with the PE? Only 3 lakh rupees. Amount paid by fixed place of profession, that is PE, to the head office, otherwise then towards reimbursement of actual expenses. That means we have given head office some share of expenses which is not included in the above amount. So they have given revenue expenses of 3.5. In that 3 lakh is included, but this 1 lakh is separate. So total expense is 4.5. 4.5 will be divided into 3.5 and 1 lakh. This is the total expense. In this 3.5, 3 lakh is in connection with the P, 50,000 is not in connection with the P. Okay. And this 1 lakh is just reimbursement. Books of accounts maintained, yes. Audit, yes. Then only 44DA will be available. No? Then only 44DA will be available. Okay. What is the tax liability of X and company and Y and company for 1920 in respect of fees? First, let's do for X. Let's do for X. X has received fees for technical services 20 lakh rupees. The moment we say no PE means X and company will be covered in 115A. That's the only option there. Only option. And 115A, because for 44DA it has to be PE, books of accounts and audit. If you don't have that, you will automatically go in 115A. And in 115A you don't get deduction. The income directly will be taxed on gross basis. That means, can I say 10%? And I think you will be adding HEC only. You will be adding HEC also because there is no surcharge. It's only 20 lakh rupees. So we have very easy answer. 10% plus 4%, 2 lakh 8,000 will be the tax liability of X. Tidding. 2 lakh 8,000. This is the only option where you have 2 lakh 8. We can actually stop here. We have already arrived at our answer. But it does not work that way. I need to do a little discussion about 44DA. One thing is clear, that when we go in 44DA, we need to satisfy 3 conditions. We should be having PE, maintain books of accounts, get them audited. We have satisfied the conditions, so we fall in 44DA. In 44DA, we will get deduction of expenses, actual expenses. But in 44DA, what is written, if you want, you can write down these conditions anywhere in your notebook also. Expenses will be allowed only if they are incurred wholly in connection with the PE. Only expenses which are connected with the PE will be allowed. Only those expenses which are connected with the PE. So that way, if you observe the total of 4.5, in that, first let's talk about this 3.5. 1 lakh we will discuss separate. In that only 3 lakh is connected with the PE. 50,000 is not connected with the PE. So we will not get the deduction of that. We will get only 3 lakh deduction. Okay. Whatever be our revenue expense, deduction will be available only if it is connected with the P. And when we have given reimbursement of 1 lakh to our head office, so what is our head office must be in some foreign country? It must have apportioned some overhead cost to our Indian entity. When we reimburse that, those reimbursements are not allowed. Except sometimes what is possible? Supposingly for our Indian PE, we have to pay rent. That is the expense of Indian PE. ये यहाँ पे जो PE है उसका expense है, लेकिन वो head office ने भर दिया. तो हम head office को reimbursement दे रहे. We are giving them reimbursement. That will be allowed because that is actual expense. Our expense attributable to the PE, वो तो head office ने भरा है, इसके लिए हम लोग उसको दे रहे हैं. So basically 44DA में आपको डिडक्शन कौन से चीज का मिलेगा? 44DA व्हेन यू टेक डिडक्शन ऑफ एक्सपेंस, दो चीज का मिलेगा. एक ऐसा एक्सपेंस विच हैज बीन इंक्लूड एक्सक्लूसिवली फॉर पी, एंड हेड ऑफिस को अगर आपने रीइंबर्स किया है आपका एक्चुअल एक्सपेंस, रीइंबर्समेंट ऑफ एक्चुअल एक्सपेंस, बिकॉज दैट इज योर एक्सपेंस एक्सक्लूसिवली फॉर पी, लेकिन हेड ऑफिस ने पहले भर दिया तो आपने उसको रीइंबर्स किया. बट देन कैन आई से दिस इज अदरवाइज देन टुवर्ड्स रीइंबर्समेंट, मींस दिस यू वोंट गेट, and out of 3.5 also only 3 lakh you will get. Accordingly your taxable income will be 17 lakh. Yes, I do agree that वैसे 44DA में rate 40% है because most cases it is going to be a foreign company only. 99% cases it is going to be a foreign company only and thus it will be 40%. लेकिन अगर question specify करता है that it is a partnership firm, if the question is specifying that it is a partnership firm, then you will have to apply the rate of firm. 44DA the moment you go, that means normal rate will apply, जो फॉरेन कंपनी के लिए 40% रहता है, लेकिन पार्टनरशिप फर्म अगर होगा तो वो 30% रहेगा, 30% रहेगा. एंड दिस इन दिस केस इफ द क्वेश्चन इज मेंशनिंग 40% पार्टनरशिप फर्म, then it will be 30%. And you all know this that whether resident firm or non resident firm, फर्म के लिए रेट इज ओनली 30 प्लस अगर आप 4% HEC ऐड करोगे, सो विल गेट दैट आंसर 5,30,400 आपको मिल जाएगा. वैसे तो 2,08,000 आते ही अगर आपने आगे नहीं भी किया होता, इफ यू वुडंट हैव डन इट अहेड नो फर्दर, देन आल्सो इट वुड हैव बीन फाइन. लेकिन यू नीड टू नो द कंप्यूटेशन हाउ इट इज डिराइव्ड 530. एंड यहाँ पे इस क्वेश्चन ने सरप्राइजिंगली फॉरेन फर्म को आपको क्वेश्चन बना के दे दिया. बहुत लेस लाइकली है, बट नॉट इम्पॉसिबल. एंड देयरफॉर वी हैव टू केटर टू दैट पॉसिबिलिटी ऑल्सो. वी कैन नॉट जस्ट टॉक अबाउट फॉरेन कंपनीज. ओके, let's talk about question number 7. This question again is based on your 94B. A Limited, an Indian company, borrowed money from B Incorporation in country B, C Limited in country C, D Incorporation in country D, and E in country. That means ये चार लोगों से हम लोगों ने लोन लिया. We have borrowed money from 4 companies in the respective company. Details are given. Amount borrowed is given. Loan amount, interest. I think सब कुछ 10% है. 1.5, 2.5, ठीक है. Is it an associated enterprise? क्योंकि 94B लगता है only associated enterprise. Yes. That means B and D, at least आपका 94B में तो जाएगा. बट आगे क्वेश्चन रीड करो. B Limited has provided guarantee of loan taken by A Limited from C Limited. मतलब ये जो लोन है we have taken from some third party but has our associated enterprise given guarantee, तो ये भी 94B में कवर होगा. And deposited 15 crore with E Limited, मतलब B ने E को लोन दिया और E ने हमको लोन दिया. Whenever our associated enterprise gives a guarantee और डिपॉजिट्स अ कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग अमाउंट, तो वहां से मिला हुआ लोन भी हमारा 94B में कवर होता है. 94B में अपना नॉन रेजिडेंट एसोसिएटेड एंटरप्राइज और किसी थर्ड पार्टी को, इफ अवर एसोसिएटेड एंटरप्राइज हैज गिवन द लोन और गारंटी, देन दैट विल आल्सो बी इंक्लूडेड. सो दैट वे दीस टू मे नॉट बी डायरेक्टली एसोसिएटेड, बट अवर एसोसिएटेड एंटरप्राइज हैज गिवन लोन और गारंटी, तो ये चारों कवर होगा. दैट मींस कैन आई से ऑल ऑफ देम विल बी सब्जेक्टेड टू द लिमिट. The EBITDA interest before earning before interest tax depreciation for A Limited is 10 crore. 10 crore. तो आपका अलाउड कितना रहेगा? 3 crore. 3 crore. गधे की तरह ये ऑप्शन चूज मत कर लेना. like an idiot, pagal, gadeda, or for South Indian students, mandan, pottam, durantam, because question is asking you 2.5, 2.55 and 3, 8 crore is the total interest. 3 crore is allowed. What is the amount that will be disallowed? Amount to be disallowed will be 5 crore rupees. If you end up choosing 3 crore, which is the right answer if the question is asking allowed amount. The question is asking you disallowed amount. Ting, ting, ting. Studying direct tax is like getting married. Every time you think you are right, you are wrong. She will find out some mistake. She who? ICAI. M Limited and N Limited are Indian companies which have to pay interest of 2 lakh and 1 lakh outside India to Mr. P, a non-resident, during the previous year 1920 on rupee denominated bonds issued in January 19 and April 19 respectively. This is deep testing on that amendment, that any bond which is issued during, I remember the date by heart, I remember entire income tax by heart, I don't forget the date, 17th September 18 to 31st March 19. 17 September 18 to 31st March 19. मुझे डेट याद है 17 September 18 to 31st March 19. तो ये exempt होगा ना. Now this is issued in January. That means can I say this is exempt? But this is in April. So this will be taxable. So I think M Limited का जो interest है वो exempt होगा P के लिए. It's Mr. P, no? Yeah. And N Limited का taxable होगा. Which of the following statements are correct? जो taxable होगा वो भी rupee denominated bonds is taxable. I hope you remember 5% plus HEC. So 5.2% होगा. Both M and N do not have to deduct. Wrong. M नहीं काटेगा. M will not deduct because it is exempt. January, between this period it was exempt. Issue has to take place in this period. Interest can come at any time. Issue has to take place here. And N will deduct. Both have to deduct. Wrong. M does not have to deduct, but N has to deduct at 5.2. This is the right answer. Understood? Next. Under which of the following cases will arm's length price be determined by considering the median? देखिए. Just 2 minutes of explanation, please. 2 minutes. Normally, when we have more than one entry, more than one method, I mean more than one arm's length price computed, then we apply simple average. Simple average. Simple average. But under that range concept which they have given in rules, so this is a little knowledge about the range concept. If the entries are 6 or more, if the entries are 6 or more, then you have to go for something called a percentile. There is a particular calculation given and you have to go for that. And if it falls within the 35th and 65th percentile, then no problem. But if it does not fall, then you have to calculate using the median. So just like we have mean, mode, medium, normally we calculate simple average. But if the number of entries are 6 or more, then you have to go in that percentile calculation. And in that percentile, if it is falling between 35 and 65, then no problem. If it is not falling, then median has to be calculated. And that is what the question is asking. In which of the following cases arm's length price will be determined by considering the median? This has only 5 entries. So this will go in simple average. This has 6 or more. But in this also, these two are within the range of 35 and 65. And thus only this last one will go in the median calculation. Only 4 will go in the median calculation. Following things you have to see. If it is less than 6, then simple average. 6 or more, then only percentile will be checked. So that is the reason here they have given dash. And if it falls between 35 and 65, then again no problem. Otherwise, there is a calculation called median. It is given in the rules, but okay. Question number 10. Mr. Akash made the following cash withdrawals during 1920. So dates are given. 1st June 17 lakhs Bank of India, 70 lakhs Bank of India, 45 lakhs Standard Chartered Bank SCB, 50 lakhs Bank of India, 15 lakhs SCB, 60 lakhs Repco, that is a cooperative bank, 10 lakhs from SBI, 10 from again Repco, 15 lakh Standard Chartered, SCB short form is given, 15 lakh SCB, 20 Repco, 15 various dates are given, 15 lakh Repco, 75 SBI, 15 lakh SCB, 15 lakhs SBI. Which of the above payers are required to deduct tax at source on cash withdrawal? If you know a newly introduced section, it's your question number 10, no? थोड़ा properly कर, amendment है. If you know a newly introduced section 194N, which has come, very important, with effect from 1st September 19, this section has got activated. If you withdraw more than rupees 1 crore, then 2% on the excess TDS will get attracted. 2% on the amount after 1 crore. So if you are withdrawing 1 crore and 5 lakh, only on 5%. Only on 5 lakh, 2% will get attracted. First thing. Second thing, but one thing is clear, withdrawal up to 31st August, no TDS. But if you have done any withdrawal up to 31st August, it will be included in the monetary limit. Included, because monetary limit is for the full year. Go watch my circulars lecture, statutory update lecture. You'll come to know what we are talking about. So what we will do, we will divide it bank by bank. We have Bank of India, we have I think Standard Chartered Bank, we have SBI, and we have that cooperative bank called Repco. We will divide the withdrawals one by one, bank by bank. Let's see what is given to us. Bank of India 70 lakhs. I'll write it in, I will write it with proper bifurcation. Standard Chartered 45. Bank of India 50. Then again Standard Chartered 15. Check 70, 45, 50, 15. Repco 60 lakhs. SBI 10 lakhs. Repco again 10 lakhs. Standard Chartered 15 and 15. Repco 20 and 15. Cooperative banks are also covered. SBI 75. Standard Chartered 15. And again SBI 15. Let's see what's the total. This is 120. This is 15, 30, 45, 60 and 45, 105. This is 90 and 10. This is exact 1 crore. And this is 105. So first of all, this is exact 1 crore. SBI will not be deducting. That is clear. SBI will not be deducting. So in whichever option you have SBI, you first cancel that. Okay. Now apparently you might get an answer that all the other three are more than 1 crore. So on 20 lakh, on 5 lakh, on 5 lakh. But now check out of all this, how much happened till 31st August. What happened till 31st August? If you observe carefully, the withdrawals till year happened till 31st August. That means, observe carefully. Bank of India, full 120 lakhs was up to 31st August, no TDS. If I talk about Standard Chartered, 45 lakhs was up to 31st August, no? Only 45 lakh, correct? No TDS on this amount, but this will be included in monetary limit. So TDS we will deduct only after we cross 1 crore, but this 45 will be included. So here, if you observe carefully, question is not asking you the amount of TDS. Question is just asking you whether there will be TDS. Bank of India, no TDS, because everything happened up to, it's more than 1 crore, but it happened up to 31st August. This is not exceeding the limit only, and thus TDS will get attracted only by Standard Chartered Bank and Repco Bank. Accordingly, your answer will come to D. Which of the following orders are not appealable before the CIT appeals? The question is asking you about not appealable before the Commissioner appeals. Order of penalty under section 271B, AO is levying, so it is appealable. Wrong answer. Order made under 163 treating the assessee as agent of non-resident. This is also done by AO. So appealable. Wrong answer. Order of assessment passed by AO in pursuance of the directions of DRP. DRP comprises of 3 CIT. So if there is already CIT, you can't go to CIT appeals. You have to go to ITAT. You have to go to ITAT. Not appealable. Okay. Last. I think this is the last MCQ. Yes, please. Which of the following statements are correct in relation to the power of income tax authority to collect information? To collect information. This is another name for the concept that we have studied, that is section 133B, door to door survey. We have studied a concept, no? 133B, door to door survey. Door to door survey is also known by the name of power to collect information, because if you remember, he does not have the power to enter, ask questions, examine books of accounts, documents. All he has in the form of power is to collect information in form 45D. So just like best judgment assessment is also known as ex parte order, reassessment is also known as income escaping assessment, intimation is also known as summary assessment, door to door survey is also known as power to collect information. What is door to door survey also known as? Power to collect information. Correct or no? Which of the following statements are correct about door to door survey? Income tax authority can enter the place of business only after sunrise before sunset. Business premises, business hours. Listen, these are not the options. Options are given at the bottom. So you have to identify the correct statements very clearly. Income tax authority may enter the place of business only during the hours and which it is kept open. Can I say business premises, business hours? This is correct statement. Income tax authority may impound and retain in his custody for a period not exceeding 15 days books of accounts and other documents inspected by him. If he wishes to retain for a period exceeding 15 days, this power is available in 133A. But what is collecting information? 133B, door to door survey. This power not available. If you read 133A, yes, 15 days allowed, an extension also allowed. But this question is on 133B. Income tax authority can on no account remove or cause to be removed from the building where he has entered any books of accounts or document, because he has only one power, make you fill form 45D. So the correct statements are statement number 2 and statement number 4. Statement number 2 and statement number 4 are your correct options. And this concludes the MCQ discussion on RTP, especially the first 3 case study based MCQs, and that also especially the third one where you had to do tax calculation as per old regime and new regime. Too good, too good. See my dear students, I solved so many questions, released my web series. I took an effort genuinely. This pandemic has hit us. I want you all to come out of it strong, score the best marks. That is why I did it for the benefit of all students, whether you have enrolled for my course or no. And because I saw the MCQs of the RTP and I realized that they are very difficult questions, I made it a point that I incorporate these MCQs also. So that is the reason this separate lecture was recorded. Now then, we have already crossed about 1 hour and 30 minutes. So what I'll do is, the descriptive questions, I will go through them very quickly. I'll just tell you the question pertains to what, and if you have to focus on any particular thing. So ABC Limited started availing exemption on 80 IC. In our case law lecture, we have covered a case law, Arham Softronics. This is basically on that case law only. So based on that case law, your deduction will be available only for a particular period. Question 14 is a direct clear question of your PGBP. One by one they have given an adjustments. Net profit is given to you for the current year, one by one adjustment. Depreciation, creditor. Basically you do one thing, go open my textbook, do question number 4 from PGBP, that question of BR Limited, which will take about 2 hours to do in class. Full PGBP chapter will get revised from my textbook. My MCQ covers 1600 questions that we have all seen in course of my MCQ lectures, but my main textbook also covers more than 400 questions, theory and practical, everything. I can make a compiler out of that only if I want, compiler of question answer, but basically I go by my ways. So my book covers the theory also in the best manner and also the practical sums. So I have covered all these easy stuff of PGBP in my main book itself. Next is about a charitable trust, calculation of exit tax sum on charitable trust. So that way you know that we are going to calculate the net worth of the trust, and on the net worth we have to pay tax at 34.944%, 30% plus 12% plus 4%. But this question is about valuation of those assets, and I also asked in a recent exam. In fact, next year's textbook I have incorporated that sum. Also, we have done this in class with the May 21 students, but very quickly I will tell you about the valuation of the assets. So they have given you about a charitable trust. It got merged with LMN, so which is a company engaged in manufacturing of furniture. That means, can I say merger with a non-charitable entity will make you liable to pay exit tax? All assets and liabilities are taken away and LMN is not entitled. They appointed a registered valuer, and from the particulars they are asking you to find out. So there is basically a land. For this, stamp duty value is given and market value is given. For immovable property, it is stamp duty value or market value, whichever is higher. For your unlisted securities, you have to get it valued from a merchant banker. That is going to be taken as the value, and for your listed securities you have to take the average of highest and lowest. So accordingly you will get the values. And when we talk about liabilities, obviously corpus and all that is not your liability. You just corpus, provision for tax, capital fund, that won't be your liability. Reserves and surplus won't be your liability. You have to subtract your outside liability. That will give you the value of your net worth, that is accreted income. On that accreted income you have to calculate 34.944. Mr. Suresh, 60 years, ROR for AY 2021, owns an apartment in Sharjah which he purchased in 2008 and also has a bank account. Mr. Suresh contends that his total income of 3 lakh for previous year 1920, comprising of house property and bank interest, is less than basic exemption. He need not file. Normally, he is 60 years and he is a resident. So normally for resident 60 years basic exemption is 3 lakh and you have to file ROI if only income is more than 3 lakh. But if you are ROR having asset outside India, then return filing is compulsory as per 139(1). So argument of Mr. Suresh is wrong. And Mr. Suresh also contends that notice issued by the AO under 148 for AY 910 is not valid. There is no income that has escaped assessment and the time period has expired. See. Notice can be issued. If there is no impact, notice will be dropped. This we have studied while doing section 152 in class. But for a person having asset outside India, the time limit is going to be 16 years. 16 years. And thus the argument of the assessee Mr. Suresh will be wrong here. But institute has unfortunately tested you on one issue. We happened to discuss this while doing our MCQ series also, that this rule of 16 years came from your 2012 budget. So whatever books of accounts were destroyed earlier, they are destroyed. We can't do anything about them. Whatever was not destroyed will be still held by the assessee. Okay. Himalaya LLP filed return for AY 1819. The assessment was completed on 27th April. Assessing officer made 2 additions to the income of the LLP. That is 20 lakh towards unexplained investment under 69 and 3 lakh due to excess interest paid to partners. LLP being aggrieved contested the addition of 20 lakh by filing an appeal. An appeal was decided, and in March 21 LLP approaches you to know whether we can go for revision or rectification. Do we know this? That once any matter goes in appeal, then in that case 264 is not applicable for other matters also. Hindustan Aeronautics. So 264 will not be allowed. But if it is apparent mistake, then 154 will be allowed, because the matter which went in appeal was your 20 lakh addition. But the matter which you want to rectify is something else. That is your disallowance. So any matter that has not gone in appeal can come in rectification, it can come in reassessment, it can come in 263 also. But 264 is not allowed for other matters also. That was the Supreme Court judgment of Hindustan Aeronautics. Is issue of notice under 143 too mandatory for making regular assessment? Can failure to issue notice be treated as a defect curable? Clerical error. This is also based on a case law. If there is a clerical error, that's okay. So that will be forgiven. But not sending a notice is not that cannot be considered as an allowed error. Notice तो आपको भेजना पड़ेगा. Notice भेजना पड़ेगा. Not sending notice is a big error. Okay. Next, question number 19. Question 19 is not a salary question. It may appear to be a salary question for those who don't read the question properly. This question is not on salary. This question is on double taxation avoidance agreement. Hari, a resident age 42 years, is a salaried employee with Omega. He received the following components of his salary income. So basic salary is fully taxable. All components are not fully taxable, boss. Don't go by what you hear from people. All components are not fully taxable. First thing. Second thing, this is not a question on salary. Okay, listen to me. Basic salary is taxable. Dearness allowance is taxable. Medical allowance, when you get fixed monthly, it is taxable. But when it is transport allowance, you get an exemption. You get an exemption. So normal employees, it is 1600 per month, and handicapped employees, it is 3200 per month. Now we don't know whether he is handicapped or not. Till now nothing is mentioned. But under transport allowance, we do have one exemption against this 10,000, 1600 or 3200. He contributed 18,000 towards approved pension fund of LIC. That will become, I think, 80CCC. He also paid 2 lakh by way of cross check for mediclaim premium to ensure the health of his mother, resident age 61 years, who is not dependent. Not dependent is irrelevant. Okay? Not dependent is irrelevant. You will get it. You will get it. Because for parents you get it. Normal limit is 25,000, but if it is senior citizen 50, wait. Senior citizen has to be resident. I think mother is resident 61 years. So you will be eligible. But like an idiot, don't apply 50,000 limit on 2 lakh. No, this is a lump sum payment for 5 years, including the current year. That means we have paid 2 lakh premium for 5 years. And as per amendment in 80D, if you are aware, it will be split into 5 years. Correct or no? That means current year it will be counted only as 40,000, which is within the limit of 50. 50 because mother is senior citizen. So full 40 will be allowed. Don't give 50 deduction. Don't take 2 lakh of the current year. Current year is only 40. So there are some mistakes which people can make. If you assume that this is a salary question, that's a mistake. If you assume that all of this is taxable, that's a mistake. If you assume that this is the 2 lakh which you have to subject to the limit, that is a mistake. This is not a salary question. This is a DTAA question. Your transport allowance, you will get one benefit, and this 2 lakh will be divided into 5 years and straight line basis. He also delivered a guest lecture at reputed university in country X during the year 8 lakh received from such university after deduction of tax. He received 8 lakh after deduction of tax 2 lakh. That means, listen, income is 10 lakh. Hello. And tax rate 20%, because in unilateral relief, India does not have double taxation. That means unilateral. We have to calculate Indian rate, foreign rate, whichever is lower. That means first we will calculate the Indian income on the basis of all this. In that income, we will also include the foreign income of 10 lakh rupees, because after deduction of tax, that will be the total income on which we will calculate the tax. That will be the average rate of tax in India. Compare with the foreign rate, which is 20% on 10 lakh, because 8 is what you have received after TDS of that country. Indian rate or foreign rate, whichever is lower. And finally, doubly taxed income included in NTTI. Doubly taxed income included in NTTI. Into lower of the 2 rate will become your relief, and after taking relief, you will be able to compute your tax liability. So there are some small mistakes which you can make, but try to avoid that. I'm sure you will be easily avoiding them. That much trust I have on you. And then examine whether transfer pricing provisions are applicable. So you just have to see whether the enterprises are associated or no. For example, 115 BBD automatically means you are holding 26% or more. Then if you are dealing with related party, unrelated party, generally we will apply unrelated transaction price to our related party. But before you do that, check whether your income is increasing or decreasing. Subject to that, you can decide whether applicable or no. And with this, we get done with our RTP discussion, where MCQs as promised was done in proper detail by solving, and subjective questions were discussed. If I would have solved these questions also, then what will you do? dance, ding, ding, ding. So you better solve these subjective questions on your own without referring to the answer first. Once you are able to solve them on your own, I'm telling you, very well prepared for your exam. So then, even now that one sheet, one discussion, that is judicial update, recent case law, that also what has come over and above the May 20 attempt, because main book has been already given to, a main book case law lecture has been already given to all the students at all the centers. Only the extra part in the form of judicial update I will have to discuss very soon. That lecture will also get uploaded. So stay tuned. You can continue to stay subscribed, like, share, subscribe, hit the bell button, never miss an update. I hope you enjoyed the lecture. All the best. Love you all. Take care. Bye bye.